Welcome to our immigration briefing program. Today, we're diving into some fascinating news stories. First up, the U.S. is experiencing a surge in demand for foreign-born labor, with states like California, Texas, and New York leading the charge. By 2030, the demand for work visas is expected to exceed 7 million, reflecting the growing need for skilled workers in various industries. Next, in an exciting move for Pakistan's startup scene, Turkish fintech company Papara has acquired digital wallet startup SadaPay for $50.5 million. This deal not only highlights the potential of Pakistan's digital economy but also brings in significant foreign investment. Lastly, we have some crucial advice following the recent Ticketmaster data breach. Experts are urging consumers to follow company instructions, avoid reusing passwords, and enable multi-factor authentication to safeguard their personal information. Please stay tuned for more details on these stories. Yahoo US, as the U.S. labor force continues to grow, so does the demand for foreign-born workers. According to the Brookings Institution, the demand for U.S. work visas is expected to exceed 7 million by 2030 due to economic growth and retirements. In 2023, there were 4.1 million employment visa applicants. The Congressional Budget Office projects that the surge in immigration that began in 2022 will boost economic output, contributing 0.2 percentage points to U.S. GDP growth annually over the next decade. Dr. Chloe East, an economics professor, highlights the critical role of foreign-born workers in certain states and industries. States like California, Texas, New York, and Florida, along with New Jersey, Illinois, and Georgia, are expected to have the highest demand for work visas by 2030. These states also have a significant share of immigrant STEM workers, with immigrants accounting for 23.1% of all STEM workers in 2019. The trades and production sectors, as well as retail and entertainment, are expected to see high demand for foreign-born workers. Immigration is seen as a crucial lever for innovation and economic growth, with industries such as computer systems design and medical equipment heavily relying on immigrant labor. The political debate around immigration is expected to intensify with the 2024 election, with contrasting approaches from candidates like former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden. Experts emphasize the need for good immigration policies to improve the economic and social landscape. Nikkei Asia, Pakistan's digital startups are gaining attention from foreign investors, as evidenced by Turkish fintech company Papara's acquisition of digital wallet startup SadaPay for $50.5 million. Papara will also invest an additional $10 million into SadaPay. Pakistan's startups are attractive due to the country's cheap currency and large market of about 240 million people. The business process outsourcing and digital startup sectors have been successful, with IT exports reaching $2.2 billion in the first 8 months of the past fiscal year. Startups like Dealcart, NayaPay, Help, Daway, and Priceoy are thriving. However, SadaPay was reportedly struggling financially before the acquisition. Experts note that Pakistani startups face challenges due to the country's economic crisis, high interest rates, and regulatory hurdles. The government needs to reform the regulatory regime and taxation policies to support startups and retain talent. Pakistan's economic outlook is dire, with $75 billion in external financing needed over the next 3 years, but there is hope that the focus on fiscal and current account balance will attract foreign investment. CBC, in the wake of major data breaches affecting companies like Ticketmaster, consumers are advised to stay vigilant about monitoring their personal accounts and financial information. Brent Arnold, a lawyer and data breach expert, recommends following the instructions provided by the affected companies, including signing up for credit monitoring services. Ticketmaster offered identity monitoring free of charge for a year after discovering an unauthorized third party had accessed their cloud database. Some experts suggest taking strong action, such as canceling credit cards, but financial institutions like RBC may not always accommodate these requests unless unauthorized transactions have occurred. Arnold emphasizes the importance of routine protective measures, such as not reusing passwords and enabling multi-factor authentication, as data breaches become more common. Consumers must be proactive in safeguarding their information, as businesses they interact with are often targets of cyber attacks. Telegraph. Chargeback is a financial process that allows consumers to reverse transactions and reclaim their money through their bank or card issuer. This mechanism can be particularly useful when dealing with disputes over purchases, such as undelivered items, unreceived services, or suspected fraudulent transactions. Unlike Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act, chargeback is not enshrined in UK law but still provides a valuable recourse for consumers. The process involves the bank contacting the retailer's bank to retrieve the funds, although the retailer may contest the claim. Consumers are advised to gather substantial evidence to support their chargeback requests and to act promptly, as there are usually time limits for making claims. While chargebacks do not guarantee success, they offer a viable alternative for transactions of any amount, including those not covered under Section 75. The process is managed entirely by the bank, making it distinct from a refund, which typically requires direct interaction with the retailer. Telegraph. The Conservative Party stands at a critical juncture, facing a profound loss of voter confidence due to unmet promises and a failure to deliver on key issues like reducing the size of the state, controlling immigration, and improving living standards. Historically, the Conservatives have positioned themselves as the party of opportunity, property, and family, aiming to provide a meaningful stake in society to all who work hard. This mission has been fundamental to their identity, fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility among the British populace. However, in recent years, the party has strayed from these core values, leading to a growing disconnect between the leadership and the electorate. To regain their footing, Conservatives must rediscover their historical mission by promoting property ownership, family values, and a sense of belonging. This will require innovative thinking and courageous decision-making to extend these opportunities to a broader segment of the population, thereby restoring the party's moral compass and relevance in modern Britain. Yahoo US. Joel Alvarez, a Spanish lightweight in the UFC, has expressed frustration over his recent career inactivity, having fought only 3 times since 2021. Alvarez's plans were derailed by bureaucratic issues, including visa renewal delays that prevented him from competing in scheduled fights. Despite being healthy and eager to fight, these administrative hurdles have left him sidelined, affecting his motivation and rhythm. Alvarez last fought in July 2023, securing a victory against Mark Diakese, but he remains eager to prove himself further in the octagon. He is set to return on August 3 at a UFC Fight Night event in Abu Dhabi, facing Brazil's Elves Brener. Alvarez hopes this fight will mark the beginning of a more active period in his career, reminiscent of his early days in the UFC when he fought frequently. His goal is to maintain a consistent fighting schedule, participating in 2 to 3 fights annually to stay competitive and showcase his skills. Telegraph. James Cleverly, in his article for The Telegraph, emphasizes that the Conservative Party must not shy away from addressing immigration issues head-on, especially as they prepare for a potential leadership contest. Cleverly argues that the Tories need to regain public trust on border control to present a credible alternative to Labour, which he criticizes for their chaotic handling of the Home Office. He insists that the Conservative Party should advocate for real control and bold solutions to stop illegal immigration, reflecting the public's sentiment. Cleverly's allies tout his record of delivery in government and campaigning, positioning him as a unifying candidate for the party. Meanwhile, other potential leadership contenders like Sala Braverman are also setting out their visions, with Braverman emphasizing the need for increased house-building. The party's internal dynamics remain fluid, with much depending on Rishi Sunak's tenure as leader and the upcoming Conservative Party board meeting, which will set the rules for the leadership contest. Telegraph. Reflecting on the Conservative Party's devastating loss in the recent general election, Liz Truss argues that the failure to roll back Tony Blair's leftist agenda is a significant reason for the defeat. Truss notes that the electorate's anger stemmed from successive Tory administrations' inability to implement true Conservative policies. She points out that issues like economic stagnation, high taxation, and the inability to deport illegal immigrants are rooted in the Blair and Brown government's policies. Truss criticizes the party's adoption of Labour's climate change policies and failure to amend legislation like the Human Rights Act. She recounts her brief tenure as Prime Minister, where she attempted to challenge the Blairite economic orthodoxy but was undermined by centrist Conservative MPs. Truss warns that under Labour, issues will worsen, as the party has no plans to reduce taxes or deregulate. She emphasizes the need for the Conservatives to learn from their past failings to offer a viable alternative in the future. Telegraph. Labour's first week in government after 14 years has been marked by chaos and a lack of substance, particularly in the Home Office, according to an article in The Telegraph. The author criticizes Labour for their disjointed approach to visa liberalisation, rejoining the EU, and free movement, which has already led to public disagreements among Labour ministers. The article highlights the previous Conservative government's efforts to curb migration, such as raising the salary threshold for work visas and stopping students and healthcare workers from bringing dependents. These measures, the author claims, have already started to reduce net migration. However, Labour's decision to scrap the Rwanda policy, which was intended to deter illegal migration, is seen as a significant misstep. The author argues that without a deterrent, Labor's approach will only encourage illegal immigration, as evidenced by the recent tragic deaths of asylum seekers crossing the Channel. The article calls for the Conservative Party to maintain a firm stance on immigration, advocating for real control and bold solutions to differentiate themselves from Labor and win back public trust. Telegraph. In the wake of economic stagnation, the Conservatives must reignite their commitment to growth and prosperity. This involves revamping regulations to enable the private sector to build more homes and workplaces, and modernizing the outdated infrastructure with significant private investment. However, the essence of a robust growth strategy extends beyond construction. True economic growth stems from entrepreneurs and investors innovating better ways to produce goods and services, thereby boosting output, wages, consumption, and exports. To achieve this, productivity must be heightened, energy costs reduced, domestic and foreign investments encouraged, and an entrepreneurial culture fostered. Additionally, skill levels need to be enhanced, welfare recipients reintegrated into the workforce, and tax and benefit interactions streamlined. The Conservatives must discard the notion that government knows best, recognizing that economic meddling has shifted sentiment towards Labor's ground. A balanced approach that marries free market principles with cultural conservatism could revive the party and drive national prosperity. The Toronto Star. The tragic death of Christy Thibodeau, a beloved tour guide in New Orleans' French Quarter, has cast a harsh spotlight on border and justice system failures. Thibodeau was shot during an armed robbery, with one suspect revealed to be a juvenile wearing a malfunctioning ankle monitor and another a 19-year-old Honduran national in the U.S. illegally since 2019. This incident has fueled political rhetoric, with Republicans blaming President Joe Biden's immigration policies, despite the suspect's initial apprehension occurring under Donald Trump's administration. The case has also exposed systemic issues within the juvenile court system, prompting calls for reform. Thibodeau's death highlights the broader issue of underage offenders with easy access to guns, a problem plaguing cities nationwide. As the Republican National Convention approaches, the narrative of immigrant-related crimes continues to gain traction, despite statistics showing a decline in violent crime and studies indicating that illegal immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans. Yahoo US. Christy Thibodeau's murder in New Orleans' historic French Quarter has intensified scrutiny over border and justice system failures. The 43-year-old tour guide was killed by suspects, including a juvenile with a faulty ankle monitor and a 19-year-old Honduran national illegally in the U.S. since 2019. This case has sparked political debates, with Republicans attributing the blame to President Biden's immigration policies, although the suspect was first detained during Trump's presidency. The broken ankle monitor and subsequent failures have led to bipartisan calls for juvenile court system reforms. Thibodeau's death underscores the issue of young offenders with easy access to firearms, a concern echoed across the nation. As the Republican National Convention nears, the narrative of immigrant-related crimes is being amplified, despite data showing a decrease in violent crime and research indicating that illegal immigrants are less likely to be arrested for violent crimes compared to native-born citizens. This incident has revealed significant dissatisfaction with local, state, and federal systems, highlighting the need for comprehensive reforms. The Toronto Star. In the working-class neighborhood of Rocafonda in Mataró, Spain, Lamine Yamal's rise to soccer stardom has been nothing short of meteoric. Growing up playing on a small concrete slab with friends, Yamal's talent was evident from a young age. His father, Monir Nasraoui, would often take him on a 90-minute train ride to practice with Barcelona, where Yamal joined at age 7. Now, at just 16, Yamal is a sensation, making his debut with Barcelona's senior team and Spain's national team, becoming the youngest player to do so. His neighbors, who once watched him from the sidelines, now gather around screens to cheer him on in the Euro 2024 final against England. Yamal's peculiar goal celebration, a hand sign representing the last 3 digits of Rocafonda's postal code, 304, has become a symbol of pride for his diverse and multicultural hometown. BBC. In Bishop Auckland, County Durham, plans to convert Vinovium House into 54 flats have stirred controversy among residents. The 8-story building, previously housing government offices, is set for redevelopment by Amsage Limited. However, locals have submitted objections to Durham County Council, fearing the flats might house asylum seekers and transform the area into an antisocial ghetto. Resident Carrie-Ann Hewitt expressed concerns that the new flats would not meet local housing needs and would detract from the town's character. The developer, however, clarified that no agreement had been made to house refugees and emphasized that the development aims to provide much-needed accommodation and regenerate the town. They hope the project will be seen as a positive step forward for Bishop Auckland. New York Times. Mikhail Skuttered, a labor economist at the University of Waterloo in Ontario, often asks his students whether they would prefer to graduate when jobs are scarce or when workers are scarce. Most choose the latter, as a vast job pool with competition among employers can lead to better wages. In Canada, the government aims to address labor shortages by attracting 1.45 million immigrants between 2023 and 2025, framing it as crucial for the country's future prosperity and public service funding. Historically, Canada has focused on highly skilled workers due to its geographic isolation from immigration crises, allowing it to be selective about newcomers. This approach is seen as beneficial for workers and job seekers, as labor shortages can create opportunities for better employment conditions. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Morning coffee, fresh off the press. Reading headlines, feeling blessed. World keeps turning, stories unfold. Every moment news gets told. Flipping channels, clicking tabs. Feeding my mind's hunger grabs. Facts and figures, images bright. News keeps rolling day and night. Headlines and headlines, can't get enough. Learning about the world, yeah, it's my stuff. Headlines and headlines, stories are full. Knowledge is power, truth to behold. Politics, science, sports, and art. Every story plays its part. Global voices near. Every headline loud and clear. Need the latest, got to know. Never stopping, always go. Scrolling, swiping, reading on. Daylight breaks in the dark. Headlines and headlines, can't get enough. Learning about the world, yeah, it's my stuff. Headlines and headlines, stories are full. Knowledge is power, truth to behold. Need the latest, got to know. Never stopping, always go. Scrolling, swiping,